Alright, hello and welcome to this first class on descriptive writing. This is an introductory lesson on descriptive writing, and my purpose in recording this lecture is that we get to know exactly about what descriptive writing is and what exactly goes into the descriptive writing to turn it into a good piece of descriptive writing. So let us just get on with our formal lecture. The first thing that I'd like to talk about is that when you look at the term descriptive writing and when you look at the word descriptive, it's easy to see that this word comes from description or describing. So descriptive writing is essentially about describing something. It could be a person, it could be a place, it could be your own feelings, it could be the situation that you find yourself in, or it could be anything that you can picture in your mind. And what is the purpose of descriptive writing? The purpose of descriptive writing is to write something in such a way so that whatever you're describing, you're able to give a good image of that something to your readers. So any piece of writing that is able to achieve this objective or goal of creating a good image in the reader's mind would, in my opinion, be called a good descriptive writing piece. And similarly, if there is a piece of writing and it is called descriptive writing, but after reading through it, if you're not able to create a mental image of what that writing says to describe, then it probably is not a very good piece of writing. So the test of good descriptive writing is to see that the reader gets a good picture, a vivid, lifelike picture of whatever you're describing in his head. Now, more often than not, when you're asked to describe something, one of the ways in which you can practice this kind of writing is to have a look at a picture, and then as you look at that picture, you try to describe that picture in a way so that the reader, just by reading the words that you've used, can get a good idea of what is it that you're describing. So in a sense, it is like that your words would give life to the picture. Maybe you're using words that shows the sounds and the sights and the smells that you can see and find in the picture. And by using your imagination, you're able to bring all of these things, the sights, the sounds, the smells, to life. And you bring these you give life to the picture by sharing how you look at the picture, and when you share your personal take, and when you share what is it that you see in that picture, the reader is able to connect with your writing, and then the reader is able to see what is it that you wish to communicate to them. At this point, I think it would be worthwhile to share that a good piece of descriptive writing is not only about describing that thing in an objective way. It is also important that your own feelings, your own ideas, and your thoughts when you look at that thing or that person or that place, your own ideas should also be a part of that description. They should be mingled with the description, and it is only when you share your personal thoughts and your personal feelings into the objective description of whatever that you're describing that you give a good picture in the reader's mind that they're able to identify with. So with this in our mind, let us just have a look at this picture. And I would want all of you to give this picture a good look. Maybe, for the next 30 seconds or so, I'd want you to have a look at this picture. I'll describe, or I'll just say a few things about this picture, and I'll share it with you. You can see two young kids with their school bags on their back, moving together. And on the opposite side, you see another young kid. He looks like a little younger than the other two, but then he's not carrying a school bag. Instead, he's carrying a big white sack on his shoulder, and this bag is probably used to collect garbage. And in the background, you can see this big wall, and you can see pictures drawn on the wall. You can see the graffiti or the pictures, on by the side of these boys. And in addition, you can also see this garbage, this rotten leaves and polythene bags and other litter that is that lies just next to the wall. So this is something that is visible to anybody who looks at this picture. Now, what I've tried to do is I've tried to create a description of this picture, and what we'll do is that we'll just read uh, this piece of writing that I've created, and we'll see that how well are you able to imagine this picture just by looking at the words. And as I've said before, it is not only about describing what you can see, it is also about how you feel or what you think after looking at this picture. And if you're able to uh, include your feelings and your thoughts and your ideas into the objective description of this picture, I think you're going to leave a lasting impression with your reader, and you're going to do well with descriptive writing. So the question is that you've asked to describe the picture, and how would you do it now? So let us have a look at this description here. Describing the picture. Feeling the cool morning air on their faces, Ali and Azam walked towards their school. This was their routine walk to the school from home. Ali was a little taller than his younger brother Azam and sported a black pea cap on his head. He thought the cap made him look cool. Their school bags hung at their backs. The Pilot Government High School for Boys was just around the corner. They had stepped onto the pavement with the school wall to their right. The brick wall, which had been painted white a long time ago, had its paint peeling off from certain areas. But the graffitis on the wall, which was painted by the school students, made it look a lot better to the passerbys. A little garbage lay by the side of the wall. Soon they walked past a boy who was a little younger and a few inches shorter than both of them. Clad in faded brown shalwar kameez, wearing a pair of torn brown slippers, and carrying an oversized white garbage sack on his shoulder, the boy moved in the opposite direction away from the school. As they looked at him, for a moment, both Ali and Azam stopped hearing the roar of the traffic. They stopped smelling the rotten leaves in the garbage lying next to their school wall. They thought for a moment about the garbage boy with his blank and expressionless face. This little boy was forced to carry the big garbage sack on his back instead of a school bag. They thought about his poor family, and then they thought about this brave boy who had been denied this right to education, but he wasn't unaware of his duty to feed his family. The thought stayed with them for a fraction of a second, and they turned their head to look at the boy who had just walked past them. He was walking away with his head held high, and his head was too busy thinking about his work to look back at the schoolboys. Now, as you can see, that brings us to the end of the story. But the point is that if you wish to describe a picture, uh, it is once again, just as a reminder, let me share that you not only to describe the scenes that you see, or maybe the sounds that you can imagine, or the smells that you can feel is there. It is also important that you share your feelings and your thoughts and your ideas with those descriptions, and that would uh, probably be a better approach to leave a good lasting impression on your readers. Now, this is just an introductory lesson, and the description that we've just written is not very detailed. The purpose of this description was to give you an idea of how to approach these tasks. And I hope that as you practice a little more, trying to write about the descriptions of a few pictures that you've seen, uh, you would probably be, you'd probably get better at writing descriptive writings. So I've chosen an exercise for you, and the exercise is about searching an award-winning picture about Pakistan from from Google, let's say, or any other search engine. And I would want you to choose any picture of your own liking, but I would suggest that you make it an award-winning picture. And once you've chosen your picture, I would want you to keep that picture in front of you and then write a few paragraphs trying to describe what you see in that picture. And try to write about what you feel and think as you look at the picture, along with the description of the picture in terms of what you see there, what you hear, in terms of the imagined sound that that you can imagine that were there in the pictures, or if you can imagine any particular smells or any sense of touch or taste that you feel was there. You could write about it, but then as long as you mix these objective details with your own ideas, I'm sure you're going to write well. So with this, we come to the end of this class. And in our next class, we're going to look at descriptive writing in more detail. And I'll see you in the next class. Thank you for joining me.